Welcome to Unbiased Sports. We have a Chelsea Arsenal preview. I've got a guest with me today, TrueGunnersTv. Nice to have you, brother.
Thank you for inviting me on.
Thank you for coming on, mate.
No worries at all.
Seeing as it's the first time you've ever been in a video with me, I like to ask everyone 3 questions, just 3 footballing questions. The first one being, it's a stupid question to ask, but who's your favourite team?
Arsenal, of course. Come on.
Who's your favourite player of all time?
Favourite player of all time? Oh, what, Arsenal player or any player?
Any player.
Oh, mate, that's so that's difficult. That's a difficult question. There's been so many top players. I'm going to upset the Ronaldo fans, because I have to say Lionel Messi for me is. I think he's the GOAT, and I think he's the greatest of all time as well. Even when you look at your Maradona, your Pelés, all top class players, but I just think Lionel Messi trumps them all personally.
I agree 100%. I think he does stuff that Ronaldo just does stuff that other people can do, but he does it all together. Whereas I feel Messi does stuff that no one else can do. Therefore, for me, Messi is the GOAT, and I agree with you. Best ever to play the game, by the way. And this one's tough. Favorite match of all time?
Oh, favorite match. God, you're making me think here. I can tell you my least favorite. Do you want me to tell you my least favorite?
I'll take the least favorite.
Cool. Right. Okay. So obviously I'm an Arsenal fan. My dad's a Man United fan. Right. And my dad said to me, "Here, boy, I've got some tickets. Arsenal versus Man United at Old Trafford. Do you want to go?" I was like, "Yeah, of course we do." He says, "The only thing is we've got to sit in the United end because they're, obviously United tickets." I was like, that's all right. I'll just go in my normal clothes and I'll just try and sit there and not celebrate Arsenal goals. That was the game we lost 8-2.
Oh, I knew it was coming.
8-2. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
I was devastated that day. And I had to sit with United fans screaming at me, going up, obviously 8 goals scored. And, they was going crazy. And I was just there like, oh, mate, why did I say yes to them?
Arsenal owe you a season ticket just for doing that, mate. Just for sitting there with the United fans and watching it live. And your dad's United. Like, that's oh my. I don't envy that. I don't envy that at all. But listen, we're going into the game against Chelsea. Chelsea coming off some form as well as us. We're both obviously we're coming off the Man City win. They're coming off 2 wins in the Premier League. First of all, what's your thoughts going into the game? Do you think we're going to do them in, or do you think it's going to be tougher than we think?
To be fair, right, going into the game, I just think it's going to be a formality, kind of like what we've seen at Arsenal at Stamford Bridge in recent years. I always thought that we would win the game, but then kind of listening to Chelsea fans on socials has changed my mind a little bit, because them lot are coming with some chest right now. And I don't know what they've got chest for. Yeah, they beat Burnley, bro. Yeah, Burnley. Everybody's beating Burnley this season. So I'm changing my mind a little bit. I was kind of like, yeah, I think Arsenal will win the game, but I think it will be a closer game. Just out of respect for Chelsea. I ain't got no respect for them now, bro. Yeah, listening to the way that they're talking. And I've got to be careful, right? Because I did this season already once. And I told Deji, Spurs fan Deji, that they was getting slapped at the Emirates. And it didn't happen. But I am quietly very confident that we go to Stamford Bridge tomorrow and beat Chelsea comfortably. And then all of them lot can go hiding back under their rocks again. Yeah, sitting down in 12th place. Yeah, accepting that they've spent £1 billion and they're still a dead football club. And all of that can happen.
Mate.
And I think that's what's going to happen, bro, personally. Like, come on. Let's be real right now. Saliba and Gabriel have just had arguably the best striker on the planet right now, Erling Haaland, in their back pocket. Do you really think Nicholas Jackson's going to bother him? Do me a favour. Do me a favour. Declan Rice, Thomas Partey. You know, we'll have Saka back for the game apparently as well. Martinelli, Jesus. We play our traditional front three from what we see last season. We win the game. We win the game comfortably. I don't know what Chelsea fans are talking about right now. I really don't.
Listen, I agree with everything you've just said, and I've got to just say, Chelsea fans, like, I don't know if it's because it's Arsenal that they're coming against, but I don't get why. You see the record that I've got above there. We've won the last 3 times we've faced them. They've got no leg to stand on, and it's what pisses me off about them the most is that just stay quiet. Just stay quiet. You know, like when we play City, we stay quiet. We might be a little bit confident and say, "Oh, we think we might get something out of the game," but you never see us go in and saying, "Oh, we're gonna do this, do that." They really think they're going to do something. Like it's ridiculous. And I think we've just beaten Man City, a team that arguably is the team we cannot get anything from. Even the time that we looked like we deserved the game, we dominated them most of the game. They nick it at the end. Rodri nicks it at the end. We've just beat them. We've got Saka having rest for once. Their defense, their defense has been all right, but they haven't. Who's their left back at the moment? They haven't got Chilwell. Who's their left back at the moment?
Is it Cucurella?
I think if it's Cucurella, he's going to get cooked. Saka didn't play against Man City. That's pissed him off. I'll tell you that now. That has pissed him off, and he's going to come. And I'm generally confident as well. I think we're going to dominate Chelsea. Personally, I'm putting my neck on the line. I was another one that put my neck on the line against in the Spurs one. I thought we were going to batter them as well. But Spurs have actually been decent this season, where Chelsea haven't. I see someone on the football terrace. I see the clips. I don't know when it was, and he said that. He said, I don't know what his name is. Sorry, apologies. I don't know your name. Respect, but he said that Gallagher, Enzo, and Caicedo are better than any 3 Arsenal midfielders we can put together on the pitch, and that for that reason they're going to beat us.
All I can say to that is, don't smoke drugs, my friend. Don't smoke drugs. Put the drugs away or down. Yeah, don't do it, because he must have been on something to say that. Honestly, I've seen the clip as well. Yeah, I've seen Chelsea's midfield 3 is better than anything Arsenal can offer. Okay, mate. Yeah, let me just rebut that, right? And I don't even have to use Arsenal logic. Let's use Chelsea fans' logic. Number 1. You was all screaming for Gallagher to leave the football club. Yeah, leave the football club in the summer. Now all of a sudden, oh, he's better than Declan Rice. Do me a favour. Come on, do me a favour. Enzo Fernandez, I quite like the guy. I do quite like the guy. I think he's very technically gifted. I think the only thing that's kind of stopping him from becoming in like a top player is having that other midfield partner that can do the dirty work, so that he can do the attacking, role, kind of what we see from Odegaard in the 10. I think the only question there is maybe Martin Odegaard, and it sounds silly, right? But he scored 15 goals last season. I thought he was very, very good for Arsenal last season, but he does have a tendency of going missing in big games. I'm not going to lie.
See, I do agree, because that does bother me. The one thing I'd say is Chelsea ain't a big game. No, but to be honest, he does perform. He does seem to perform against Chelsea. Last time we faced them, didn't he score 2? Am I wrong?
Yes, I believe he did. Yeah,
I think he scored 2. So I think he's all right. But to say that to put Conor Gallagher in the sentence of Arsenal midfielders is ridiculous in itself. The other 2 he's going off of cost. I think he's gone off of cost. Like, they cost more, so they're better, sort of thing. Because listen, they were all praying. Like, listen, I'll tell you now, every single Premier League team was praying Arsenal did not get Declan Rice. They were all sitting there going, "Oh, Arsenal never getting Declan Rice." And you know how I know that? Because the second Man City put that bid in, you saw everyone rubbing their hands together, all the other fans going, ha ha, Arsenal have lost him, because they were gassed, because they knew how good he is. Second we sign him, Declan Rice overrated. Declan Rice he's average. He's a one of my Arsenal mates. He's not a Declan Rice fan actually, and he says he's the modern day Mark Noble.
That's harsh. That is harsh.
And that's an Arsenal fan. I said to him, mate, listen, you give us bad rep to say that, but that's what people try and say though about him. I think it's crazy disrespectful. I think Declan Rice this season's been him and Basuma have probably been the best defensive sided midfielders in the league. And I just think that he has, when we haven't been playing well, without him in the team, I think we are not where we are in the league right now. I generally do believe that. I think that he does a lot of dirty work that people don't really look at, like when they're watching the game, like the dog work.
No,
so, but
100%, I agree with you, because if you look at that Man City game, I don't know about you, right, but I'll watch a game. Obviously, you're in your element. You do your videos afterwards. I actually re-watch games the day after to kind of see what I've said. Does it match up to what we've seen? Because obviously, when you're watching the game, you're emotional about it. Your emotions are there. You just want to see your team win. So I always go back and look at it again the day after. Against Man City, Declan Rice was everywhere. You know, he's not a traditional six that just, he's a bit of a destroyer in the midfield, breaks up play or anything like that. He was everywhere, all over that pitch. He was pushing forward when he needed to, breaking up tackles when he needed to. He was just, it was crazy. It was crazy. The only reason he didn't get man of the match was because I just thought Gabriel and Saliba was immense in that game. But this is the kind of performance that we've been, become accustomed to with Declan Rice since he's joined Arsenal. I don't think he's had a bad game, Declan Rice. I think he's come into Arsenal, big price tag. Obviously, he joined from West Ham. It's a massive step up in terms of big club. And he's took to it like a duck to water. He really has. And, I think people were mad disrespectful, like 105 million for Declan Rice. Is he going to live up to his price tag? I think he's already starting to pay that money back, to be honest with you. And
I agree.
When you look at last season and the way that we kind of capitulated at the end, I think what we was lacking was that leadership and that element of never give up. And I think Declan Rice brings that to Arsenal. We've seen it already this season, like you say. I don't think so far we've had a great start to the season, although the points, on the board will say differently. But in terms of performances, I don't think we've been that great. I think what's gotten us through them games is that Gabriel and Saliba have been so good, and Declan Rice. You can't lose games if your defense is on point in every single one of them games. And Declan Rice, William Saliba and Gabriel have been immense in pretty much most of our games so far this season. And, the way he sweeps up in midfield, the way them two, they've got that partnership at the back as well now. It's difficult for teams to break us down. It's difficult for teams to create chances against us. The only thing that we need to sort out now is getting our attacking line firing again, because, obviously we've missed Jesus at the beginning of the season, out through injury. Martinelli's been out injured. Saka's been out injured recently. So in actual fact, they've only played 22 minutes of Premier League football together so far this season.
Crazy.
And that was our most attacking, our most potent attacking front three last season. Once they're back together again, and you've got Martin Odegaard behind them, and he already has relationships with these three, by the way. We see it last season, the way that he, is creating for them. He knows exactly how they play. He knows exactly where they're going to be on the pitch at the right time. I think our attacking element's going to be just fine. Just fine, and that's the only thing that's been letting us down so far this season, is we kind of scraped through a few games and we've got the points, which is all that matters. It's a results-based business. But when you look at the performances, we have scraped through games in terms of, actually creating chances and putting them away. And a lot of that, let's be honest, a lot of that has to do with the manager and his fetish with Eddie Nketiah. He plays Eddie Nketiah, and I don't understand why Eddie Nketiah, it's unfortunate for him. I have nothing against him, but he's never going to be title contending Arsenal quality. He's never going to be that.
You know what? Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with like 3 things in there. Yeah, first of all, I agree 100% with the fact that we're not firing on all cylinders at all attackingly. I'm watching games and there's like I don't know if a goal's coming. I feel like I'm watching certain games and it's like we're not gonna score, mate. We're not gonna score. Like the City game, even like obviously it's City, but like there was a good part of that game where I thought we weren't gonna score. And I think the defense and Rice have been immense. And I think the disrespect that they get when I'm seeing all season 11 so far and that, and we're not getting a player in there, and it's like, hold on. We've got points for a reason. Yes, we're not playing the fluid football and that, but then that just tells you that our defense is doing their job. It tells you that Saliba and Gabriel, for me, currently the best partnership in the Premier League defensively.
We've got the best defensive record in the league at the moment.
Yeah. So that it speaks for itself, And I think Declan Rice coming in, I think that what you hit the nail on the head with was last season, the way we capitulated and have it needing that guy, the belief, the thing. And he proved it last season, yeah, because he had the belief and that to get West Ham back into that game, that was the start of the end for us. He got the ball, drove forward, passed it to Paqueta, that got the penalty, and then it's 1-1. Yes, we could have won the game. Saka missed and that. Then they score again. They won a European title last season. Yes, it's the crap one. But at the same time, not for them, for us, it's crap. For West Ham, that's massive, And I think that you're right. That's what we missed last season. And going forward, I think we need a bit more of that in the attacking third. I think Tony will be a great option for us. I'm a huge Tony fan. Eddie Nketiah, right? Going into this season, I was a firm believer that Eddie's all right to be there as a backup. I've now changed my tune this season to say he's not good enough to be a backup. If you let me rephrase that. He's good enough to be a backup, yeah, if he is used as a backup. But for some reason, he's not used. Like, I don't think the manager uses him as a backup. I think he uses him as a second striker, which is, to me, not a backup. A backup will be if Jesus and Tony are both out, then you come in. Not if Jesus is out. Like, for me, Trossard should be starting up front, or try Martinelli up front again over Nketiah. For me, he works hard. I'll give him that. He loves the club. I'll give him that. And I think if he goes to like a Brentford or West Ham or something like that, I think he'll be a great little player for them. But for what Arsenal need, and that is, if you get 1 or 2 chances, you put one of them away. He's not that. I don't even think Jesus is that. But Jesus brings so much other qualities to the pitch that you can excuse that. But that is why I believe, personally, we need another striker, an Ivan Toney, an Osimhen, something like that. For me, Tony's the guy. But yeah, your thoughts on new striker?
100%. 100%. That's one position that I was crying out for at the end of last season. And people were saying, you're crazy. Arsenal have just scored 88 goals, the most amount of goals that they've ever scored in a season, more than the Invincibles. Why are you sitting here saying you need a striker? I said, you need a striker. We need a striker. If Jesus is out, like you just said, Eddie Nketiah is starting. Sometimes so far this season, we've seen Jesus and Eddie Nketiah starting, So I look at it and I think we need another striker. If you look at Man United, right, look at the title-winning Man United, even of recent years, under Fergie, they didn't just have one striker. They had Rooney, they had Tevez, they had Berbatov, Even going back in the day, they had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer coming off as a super sub. That's what he was known for, super sub.
Yeah.
Right? But he was actually a very good player, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So they had strength in depth and quality in depth like you wouldn't believe. And if you want to strive to beat a team that's like Manchester City, yes, they don't have strength in depth in terms of Haaland's position, right? But they can do this false nine thing, you know. They can do. Pep's one of the best managers I've ever seen. In fact, he may even be the best manager that I've ever seen, better than Sir Alex Ferguson. Yeah, that guy. When it comes to tactics, when it comes to in-game management, there's not many times he gets it wrong. You know, normally he is absolutely bang on. And the thing is they've got a quality squad. It's not so much about the numbers, right? Because when you look at their bench against Arsenal, I actually see a few players on their bench and I was like, who the hell's that? Never heard of him before. But what Man City do have is they have a squad of 20 players or 22 players, let's just say, and 16 of them are top quality, right? And could get into any Premier League team in world football, right? Or any team in world football. We have a very, very, very good starting 11 and maybe one or two after that, you know. Let's just say 13 players. The difference being is you don't have enough squad depth there to rotate, and you're going to have to rotate when you're playing Premier League, Champions League, League Cup, FA Cup, and you try to compete on more than one front. You have to have adequate rotational options there. And that's why Man City hardly ever drop their level, because, you know, De Bruyne will go out and Phil Foden's coming in, you know, or Haaland will go out and Julian Alvarez is coming in, you know, or I don't know, John Stones gets injured. Oh, that's all right. We'll bring in Guardiola instead. That's the difference, you know. Whereas at Arsenal, William Saliba gets injured. Oh, well, we're gonna have to play Tomiyasu. Is he a good centre back, or is he better at right back? He's probably better at right back. So we'll put Tomiyasu at right back, and we'll bring Ben White into centre back. Where, in my opinion, you know, Ben White isn't a centre back at all. You know, so the level drops. Again, you look at, for example, Bukayo Saka. Yeah, Bukayo Saka's out. Who comes in? Who comes in? Because again, we're kind of shoehorning players into positions to try and make it work. When in actual fact, what we did was we gave Reece Nelson a $100,000 a week contract in the summer. And so far, this manager hasn't trusted in Reece Nelson when Bukayo Saka's been out. And we've been playing Bukayo Saka through injury to try and keep the level, you know, where it should be. And the thing is again, let's just say, for example, if Reece Nelson comes in, it's a massive level drop. Same with, you know, Jesus, Eddie and Nketiah, massive level drop. The only position on the pitch where I don't feel like there's a massive level drop if one player has to go out and one has to come in is Gabriel Martinelli and Leandro Trossard.
Yeah.
And again, you could probably say Declan Rice and Thomas Partey, but then you'd like to see them two, you know, playing together in the midfield. So when you ask me, do I want another striker? What's your thoughts on that? I have been screaming, this is no word of a lie, I have been screaming for Ivan Toney at Arsenal for the last 3 years. 3 years, yeah? When we was linked to Dusan Vlahovic, I went on to Igal's channel, and Igal can vouch for me on this. And I said, I don't want him. I want Ivan Toney. And at this time, Brentford had only just been promoted to the Premier League. Yeah. And I said, I want Ivan Toney. I don't want Dusan Vlahovic, yeah, because we see so many people coming from foreign leagues not being able to cut it in the Premier League. We've seen top players move to the Premier League from foreign leagues and not be able to, you know, cut it. And Ivan Toney, he's threatening. Yes, he's just had his highest scoring season in the Championship, and it's not Premier League. But if you look at this guy's attributes, you look at him as a whole, I said he'd be perfect for Arsenal. Doesn't have to start week in, week out, but he'd be perfect for Arsenal. And honestly, not necessarily a gal, because I think he was more taken back by what I'd said. But the other Arsenal fans who are on that panel were laughing at me. Now they're all sitting there saying, I want Ivan Toney in January. Isn't it ironic?
Yeah.
Isn't it ironic? Do you know what I mean? Another player that I've been screaming out for the last year and a half, for definite the last year and a half, maybe even 2 years, Pedro Neto.
Mate, you read my mind. So have I.
Yeah. Pedro Neto. Wanted that guy at Arsenal for the last 2 years. Oh, but he's too injury prone. Okay, cool. He did his Achilles. He had a long-term injury. I said, but that guy is talented beyond belief. Yeah, his ceiling is ridiculous. The levels that he could get to is unreal. Maybe he even has a higher ceiling than Bukayo Saka. You know,
I can understand why you say that. Listen, Neto, for me, I'm a huge fan. I remember it was a couple years back. He played against us. And I was just like, who is this guy? And then I was like, he's wicked. And then I looked and he was like, at the time, he was like 19, 20 years old. I was like, what? Just his his naturalness to play football is there. He reminds me of Martinelli. He's like, you see how, I look at Martinelli and Saka and I see him as different players. Martinelli just has it. Saka's a bit more of a workhorse. Yeah. Bit more, he works hard, he trains hard, he'll get there, he'll keep improving. But then I do believe that Martinelli has a higher ceiling than Saka, because I think that natural thing that a player has sometimes, maybe I'm being harsh to Saka, I think that can just make someone just levels and levels above. Hence why I believe that Messi, I'm not comparing anyone to Messi here, but that's why I think Messi's better than Ronaldo by far. I don't even think it's close personally, because I think that Ronaldo just can't do what Messi does, so he can't ever get that good. But Pedro Neto, for me, people are saying he's injury prone. I hate this thing of injury prone this, injury prone that. We buy players that have never had an injury and they come to us and 2 weeks later they're fucking injured. So like, I'm not going to lie to you, this injury prone thing, I don't want to hear it. If you listen, he's not coming in to be playing week in, week out 90 minutes. He'll be coming in to battle with Saka. Saka's always going to have the leg up on him because he's the Arsenal boy. He's the star boy and everything. He's always going to have the first part in the team. So he'll be someone that comes in and around the team, battle, maybe get into the team. So it's a good chance for him to build fitness. With Wolves, whenever he's fit, you're in the starting 11. Like, you're starting, you're one of our main guys. You're one of our only goal opportunities. He's got 5 GA this season, I think, something like that. He's in Wolves. Wolves suck at scoring goals. Like, I'm not going to lie. When I watched him against Man United in that first game this season, I was like, he's terrorizing them. If he had Odegaard, Jesus, maybe playing with Saka or Martinelli around him, with Thomas Partey or Rice behind him, he would be cooking. And he would be like, he's not like Bernardo Silva, but he'd be like our little Portuguese Bernardo Silva. What people, I think, believe that Fabio Vieira will be, that I'm not too sure. I think he's got like he's got that technical ability. I think he'll be a good Europe player, but I don't know about the Premier League yet. I'm still yet to judge him. I'm going to wait till the end of this season. But another guy that's don't always get as much trust as he should. But what I will say is signing Toney for 60, 70, 80 million. I'll pay 80 million for Toney, because as you said, the attributes that he brings to our team, we do not have them attributes. I watch our team week in, week out, putting that ball into the box, whipping it in, getting all these corners to no one. Like, honestly, to no one. You've got Toney in there. We score 2 or 3 extra goals in a lot of games. Them games that we can't kill off, if you have Ivan Toney up front, you kill the game off. And that's what City have. They have that with Haaland. They won't be playing the greatest football that game, but they'll put away a few chances, and then the team loses belief that you're playing against because they're 3-0 down at half time. You've beat them already, you know? So I think with us, no matter how much money we spend, we ain't going to reach the heights of Chelsea. So always spending ain't the answer. But striker, for me, I don't know about your transfer window, what you rated it, but for me, I rated our transfer window. I was there saying 7s, 8s. Timber got injured, it went to a 4. Honestly, it went to a 4. We didn't sign another attacker. I said to myself and to my mates, the signings we've done, if we sign a striker or say we can't get the striker we want right now, we go and get a winger. I was even looking at that Kudus or something like that. I said, if we sign someone like that of that level, I think this will be an 8 or a 9 transfer window. I still feel like we needed a striker, but I can understand if you're waiting on a certain person, so you're not getting them right now. AKA, I was saying at the time, and Ivan Toney, that you're waiting for a January. You know, when Timber got injured and we had enough time, it wasn't Timber got injured the day after the transfer window closed. Timber got injured and we had time. From when that happened and we didn't sign an attacker, our transfer window went from that to a 4. And it's sad to say we had the transfer window that was a 4, that we signed Declan Rice in. But maybe because of Declan Rice, I can give it a 5 because of how good he's been this season. Maybe I can up it now, but at the time it was a 4.
I agree, by the way. I agree. I said coming out of the transfer market, we signed Timber, looked very, very good. Very good. Declan Rice has obviously been, a revelation. Kai Havertz, I mean...
Did you see I didn't even mention him?
Yeah, and this is the thing.
But I am saying, if he can score that winning goal tomorrow...
Oh, bro, it's written in the stars, mate, for Kai Havertz to come back to the bridge and score the winning goal. It's written in the stars, I'm telling you. And if that happens, Chelsea fans had better go into hide. And I'm telling you,
they better hide real.
But yeah, I think you're right. Like, David Raya has been an improvement on Ramsdale. I don't think it's as big of an improvement as what people seem to think it is. I do think it is a slight improvement, but not as massive and drastic as what people make out. Declan Rice has definitely been an improvement. Yuri and Timber, I think he will be a massive improvement in the areas on our back line as well. Because obviously we've got our main back line, but in terms of squad depth, we was relying on people like Rob Holding. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, mate, don't. I'm so happy he's gone from. I don't want to sound bad because he was a nice guy for the club and that he loved the club and that. But fuck me, goodbye.
Exactly, and Timber's levels. But you're right. As soon as we didn't sign that striker, as soon as we didn't sign that winger as cover for Bukayo Saka, as soon as we didn't do them things, I even still feel maybe we need one more midfielder as well. And then as soon as, we didn't go into the transfer market as soon as Timber got injured. And on top of that, by the way, we let Kieran Tierney leave. That instantly downgraded the transfer market for me. I always had it at around about a 7. And maybe that's because I'm harsh. I expect a lot better, especially from a big club like Arsenal. But yeah, I think you're right. It, instantly downgraded to about a 3 or 4. And it's harsh. It's harsh. But when you're a team that's going in to challenge on all fronts, you have to be harsh. You have to be ruthless. And this is the thing, we see Arteta be ruthless sometimes. I don't think he's ruthless with the right players, because we still see Eddie and Nketiah getting chance after chance after chance, week in, week out. Even though he keeps dropping stinkers. Kai Havertz, chance after chance after chance, and then you got a player like Ramsdale who, hasn't necessarily done anything too wrong, and instantly he drops him, never to be seen again. Do you know what I mean? So I think sometimes the manager's a bit too ruthless with wrong players, and he trusts too much in the wrong players as well. And the only other thing that I'd say is, right, because obviously the expectation there is for Arsenal to compete for a league title again. I'm not saying that we have to win it, because I think I think anybody who says that is stupid, to be honest with you, because they've got to realise that we're fighting against Man City. We're talking about one of the teams, the best Premier League teams we've ever seen, with the manager who is arguably the best manager that we've ever seen in Premier League football. So that's a difficult enough task in itself. But the minimum expectation is to compete. And when I say compete, the thing that disappointed me last season was we was 8 points clear, 8 games to go, and we should have won the league. But then when we didn't win the league and we faltered, we didn't even take it to the last day of the season. It wasn't even like,
Yeah.
it was a toss-up between, Man City, Arsenal, although in the end we finished 5 points behind them. But let's be real, City lost the last 2 games and didn't need to win the last 2 games. They fielded
Yeah.
a weakened side. They was cool, they was calm, and they was collected. They was like, cool, don't worry about us. We've got Inter Milan in the Champions League final. We need to rest these players. We've won the Premier League already.
Yeah.
So this result against Brentford, okay, it means that Arsenal go make it look a bit more respectable than what it actually would have been. But it doesn't really matter to us. Do you know what I mean? So I want to see us compete this season in the Premier League, but it's not enough just to compete in the Premier League. Arteta has to win a trophy this season. He has to. Yeah, because
Yeah.
he won the FA Cup, and people will throw that around within the first 6 months of him joining Arsenal. But that was with Unai Emery's squad. That was with a squad that was made up by Unai Emery and Arsene Wenger players. One or two Arteta players sprinkled in there, but that was an Unai Emery, Arsene Wenger squad. Since he's brought in all of his players, he's won nothing. And it's time now for him to win something with the players that he's brought in, because otherwise this project, this process, whatever you want to call it, isn't really that successful. It looks good on the eye, but we don't want to be known as that team that put the pressure on. Do you know what I
We
mean?
don't want to be Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we don't want to be known as that team that put the pressure on. We want to be known as the team that, even in our bad days, even in our worst years, we still win stuff,
Yeah.
Even when, Wenger was on his way out and it was, looking not great for Arsenal, we still picked up the odd FA Cup here and there, And the thing is I'm not even saying he has to win the Premier League or the Champions League, but he has to compete in the Premier League and he has to win a trophy. That can be, a domestic trophy. Ideally for me, the FA Cup, would be the ideal one at a very, very minimum. I mean, the Carabao Cup don't really mean much to me, but again, it's a trophy, it's a trophy. And we have to, as well, go reasonably far in the Champions League. And out of the 2 competitions, out of the Premier League and the Champions League, I actually think, and people are going to say I'm crazy for this.
I'm going to agree with you before you've even said it, but yeah, finish.
The Champions League is the easier one to win. I do.
For us, I agree with you. I think in one-off games, not one-off, but you play 2 legs, but and I think our style might be better in Europe. Yes, we lost to Lens in the group. Arsenal will step up when it comes out of the group. I believe this team will, and I think that you're right, and I think that we will have a better chance winning the Champions League than the Premier League if we get the favourable draw. That is, like, I do think that if we were to get a draw where it's you get like Bayern, then Madrid, and then you got like City or something, that might be too much for the boys. But like, I think if you get if we get into Milan's route last year, we get to the final of the cup, in my opinion. And I think in a one-off game, this group of players can win anything. I actually generally believe that if they perform to what they can perform to. And I do think in one-off games, they can beat anyone if they perform how they can perform. I think you may be a little bit more. The thing is, you may be a little bit harsher than me. Like with Arteta, I think I've said this season, if we don't win anything, it has to be like there's context to it of how we don't win anything. Like, for example, if we got to the last week of the Premier League, we had to we end up finishing a point off City, and then in the Champions League we get to the semis and closely go out to like a Real Madrid. I know it's not good enough, we ain't won still, but that might be enough for me to say, with a striker and a few more additions, can this guy do nothing? But then next year it's like you have to win something big. Like, you have to win one of the big ones next year. You can't win Carabao Cup next year if you don't win nothing this year and you do really well in them competitions. I do agree. I think he should be winning something this season, and I think I might be different if we actually don't win anything. Like, I'm quietly confident that we'll win something this season, like an FA Cup or at least a League Cup. And I think we'll do well in the cups. But say it comes down to it and we haven't won anything and we're going out another season with people going, you ain't won. I think I might change my mind. But it is crunch time for Arteta. As you see, the team we're talking about, we ain't even talking about them because they're fucking shit. I was just saying like that. We ain't got nothing to say about Chelsea, man. They sack managers all the time. But they do that right sometimes, you know. That's why they have won shit. Like, no matter how much we want to laugh at Chelsea and how they're performing right now, they're the sort of team that next season will win the Champions League or some crap just out of nowhere. Do you know what I mean? So, like, that is the only thing I'd say. I'd say about that, to be honest. I think you're bang on. I think you're bang on with
the only thing that I'd say, because I see what you're saying about the whole context thing. You know, if he doesn't win anything this season, but we go to the semi-finals against Real Madrid and we finish 1 point off City, then you can kind of look on it with context and say, cool, you know, we go again next season. But I don't think you can win a major honour unless you've got that winning mentality. And the only way you're going to get that winning mentality is if you win something. I think what these players are missing is, I think what will drive them on is if they was to win something this season, even if it was a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup, just that feeling of winning, you know, being able to say, I can do this. I've proved that I can do this. We've proved that we can win this. Gives them the extra confidence. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's why people are expecting Arsenal to be there again this season, is because we've proved now that we can be in a title race. Nobody expected us to be in a title race last season, at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, 100%.
But we proved that we can be there now. You know, we've proved that we've got the ability. And I just think, obviously, next season is the massive one. It's a massive one because it's we've been told the entire time, it's a 5-stage project. 5-stage project. All of this about phases and processes and all that crap, right? We're at the end of it now, or we're coming to the end of it now. I think in order for players to win the major honour, I think they just have to have that experience of winning something first, if that makes sense. So that's why I say he has to win something this season. But I think we've got the squad to do it. I ain't going to lie. I think we've got the squad to compete on all fronts. And I definitely think we've got a good enough squad to go far in the domestic competitions. Because when you look at, you know, other Premier League clubs, they don't tend to take these domestic cups too seriously. So I think we're good enough to, you know, get to a final, maybe win one of them and still compete in the Premier League and the Champions League. But I think the only thing, and you might agree with me, you might not, I think the only thing that can stop Arsenal from competing on all fronts this season is that man behind me, Mikel Arteta.
I think you're right. I think that I think obviously there's the player performances and injuries that can occur. I think January is going to be a huge. I always say January is huge for Arsenal, but I think this season generally, if we were to sign, say, Neto and Tony in January, well, I think our chances go from here to here.
Bro, if we sign Tony and Neto, yeah, I'll say it here and I'll say it now. If Arsenal sign Tony and Neto, we win the league.
Yeah, I think I'll agree. If we're still around there at the time, I'll put that in there. If we're around that first and that at the time, I agree with you. I think, I think 100%. To me, I think when you said about the manager, by the way, I think you're right. I think that he needs to balance the squad correctly, because the injuries can also be down to him not resting players. He has that sort of, and I think it's an immaturity, and I think it's something he'll learn, and he is learning, and he's got better with. The one thing I'll say about Mikel Arteta is I do watch him, and I do think he does learn from things. Like, I think that the game against Man City showed me that he's learned certain things, like when to bring the subs on and stuff. Like he still does delay subs. He's got that Arsene Wenger in him, ain't he?
He's terrible for it.
He's got the fucking Arsene Wenger. I thought we'd gone from that, mate. Them
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
generic 75th minute fucking subs, and then 85th minute you bring someone on.
It's pretty much most games, isn't it? Like 75th minute. I
Who's
hate
coming on?
managers that, you got to be, as a manager of a top Premier League football club, if you want to win major honours, you have to be proactive.
Yeah.
You can't be reactionary. And, sometimes not all the time, right? Because obviously we point out the Man City game. And I think Arteta did his job spot on that day. Yeah. His substitutions and the timing of his substitutions, his in-game management, everything was absolutely spot on the money.
Yeah.
And obviously cooped with the fact that we had players that performed well in that game. But, if you don't bring Martinelli on at half time, we probably don't win that game. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, and he don't always
I
do that.
I look at that game and I say, yeah, you can do it. And this is the thing, you can do it. You can be proactive in your thinking. You don't have to be reactionary all the time. But too many times I do see Mikel Arteta being reactionary or not making the right decisions. Like, for example, I'm going to go back to Eddie Nketiah again, unfortunately. Tottenham, yeah? 100 minutes Eddie Nketiah played against Spurs. 100 minutes. Yeah, and he was taking off players like Jesus, players like Saka. And I'm thinking, what are you seeing, my friend, that we are not? Eddie Nketiah has done nothing all game. Cool, he works hard. That's great. But you've just, we've watched enough of this game to see that Tottenham defensively are a lot better than what they were last season. And they're a lot better going forward than what they were last season. This is a tighter game, and it requires the manager isn't just there to pick a team, right? And I think people get caught up in this. They seem to think that the manager's there to train the players and pick the team. And yeah, while that's all true, your manager's also there to win you points as well. Your manager's decisions in-game decisions can be the difference between you getting 3 points, 1 point, or no points. And ultimately, Mikel Arteta won us the game against Manchester City. And if it weren't for Ange Postecoglou taking off Son and Maddison, I think Mikel Arteta's decisions against Spurs would have lost us the game. Genuinely. And there's too many of these times where you look at it and you think your starting lineup is your starting lineup, right? I think it's not very often that all Arsenal fans will agree and say, yeah, that's a good starting lineup for this game. Because I think we all know what our best team is, and so far we haven't seen that, right? Because Partey's been out injured, Jesus and all them lot have been out injured at various different times. So we haven't actually got to see our best starting 11 that we all know what it is. But, he'll make decisions with his starting lineup and you'll think, okay, cool, why is he playing? Why is this one playing? Or why is that one playing? Or why is he playing in that position and not that position? And if he gets it wrong, he has to recognize it a bit quicker. And I don't think he recognizes it quick enough. And sometimes he leaves it a bit too late. Like you say, 75th minute, generic substitutions. It's always like for like substitutions as well. I never really he said in one of his press conferences that we played 48 different formations.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
And I'm thinking, where? Where? I didn't see that. And it's like he's bringing on like for like changes, doing all this. And I do think he can be the only reason that Arsenal don't compete this season, because I think the squad is good enough. Is he good enough in his managerial and his in-game management? I'm not so sure. That's the only thing that I'd say.
Yeah, I think I think you're bang on. the money. I think with the one thing I'll add, I don't know if you agree or not, would be that sometimes I think that he sees that we're not losing the game, sees we're not winning the game, but he's like, let me see it out and see if they can win it without me changing it. But he can see what he needs to change. And it's always like there's a few occasions where I've seen him getting it ready, and then something happens in the game where if he had made that substitution 10 minutes before, we would not have had that situation happen. Yeah. And I feel like it's that sometimes he knows what to do, but he don't almost trust himself to just do it. Whereas Pep don't give a crap if he does it. Like, I would rather Arteta go out on his sword and shield, make a wild substitution. Yeah, maybe it don't work, and he goes, listen, I thought that was going to work and that. But then 3 or 4 other times he does it, it does work. That one time it don't work, you might not be angry at him. But the perfect example is Zinchenko not coming off against Liverpool. He had Tierney ready. Tierney's there, stripped off, ready to come on. He'd identified the problem. Right before he's coming on, boom, Trent Alexander-Arnold through his legs in the box, 2-2. That was the beginning of the end of last season, weren't it? And if he had made that sub 10 minutes before, we might have won the league. Like, it's fine margins. I generally believe, I sat there, I weren't recording, but I wish I was, because I sat there when we went 2-0 up against Liverpool, and I sat there and I said just to myself, we're winning the league. It was a moment that I genuinely believed we were going to win the league. When it went to 2-2, straight from that, I thought, I don't know now. Like, honestly, I thought that if we had beaten Liverpool last season, that confidence booster away at Anfield would have skyrocketed us. And I think even the injuries, we would have dealt with them. But we never know. It's ifs, buts, maybes and stuff. But this season, I think he needs to do that. I think he needs to, his in-game management needs to be on point in a lot of games. This game coming up, the Chelsea game, it must win for me. Must win. There's certain points you can drop in the season. I think right now against Chelsea isn't the time. They're not playing good enough for us to, like, if you lose points at Anfield, you lose points at the Etihad, you can sort of say, you know what, that's a game where if we've got to lose points this season, that's not a bad place to lose points this season, right? But I don't think for us at Stamford Bridge, I know we're away from home, but I don't care about that away from home thing anymore. We're better away from home. Don't use that against me and then try and Arsenal fans go, oh, but we're away from home. Oh, it's not that easy. And then these same Arsenal fans will come to me and go, we've got the best away fucking defensive record in the league. Well, you can't have it two ways. You're saying we're amazing away from home, so we should be winning this game away from home, in my personal opinion. I do think we'll win this game. To sum up the game, I think we're going to win 3-1. I think we will concede against Chelsea. I just think like that Sterling guy, man, he just always seems to score against Arsenal and he's playing good, so I think he'll get a goal. Him or that fucking Mykhailo Mudryk will get a goal somehow. I fucking, God bless that we didn't get that guy, man. I was one that was actually happy when, like, I'll be honest with you, when we were getting him, I'd done that same old generic go on YouTube site clips, and I started getting a bit like, oh, this guy's looking good. When we didn't get him, I was annoyed. I was thinking, oh, we fucked it. When we signed Trossard, that all went away for me. When we signed Trossard for 25 million, 20 million, 25 million, I said we got the better player for what we currently need. Yes, cool. In 4 or 5 years, there's a potential that Mykhailo Mudryk is world class and his thing. We don't need that now. We've got a lot of that in our squad. We need a made star right now. Trossard, a lot of people think he's the best player in our team. I don't think he's the best, but I think he's up there. And I think technically, both footed and that, I think technically he might be the best. I think Jesus might have something to say about it, but he is one of the best players in our team, in my opinion, all round. So, yeah, that's my opinion. 3-1 Arsenal. I think Saka will score, and I think Havertz will score, and I think Martinelli will score.
Okay, interesting. I think the only score line that would be more satisfying than a 3-1 Arsenal would be 1-0 Arsenal and Kai Havertz scores the 95th minute winner or something like that. Do you know what I mean? That'd be crazy. In terms of your Mykhailo Mudryk, I'm going to have to go in 5 minutes, bro. I
Yeah,
don't know if you've seen the message, but I've got to sort the kids out. So
where's? Oh no, sorry. Yeah.
it's in the private chat, bro. It's in the It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Okay, sorry, mate.
But in terms of Mikhailo Mudryk, I didn't want him. Even when we was linked to him, I didn't want him because I relay back to strikers from foreign leagues and that. I just think a player of that age playing in the Ukrainian league for Shakhtar, the best team in the Ukrainian league by a country mile. Yes, he looks talented. Yes, he's got pace and all that lot. But for £88 million, really? Nah. There are better options out there than Mikhailo Mudryk. And the thing is when you got a player that comes in from a foreign league as well, you never know how they're going to settle into the Premier League. Sometimes it takes some time. And at that time, we needed a player who could settle in and hit the ground running straight away. And I was actually calling for Trossard even before we signed him. I was like, get Trossard. Go get Trossard for Brighton. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He's not happy there. He's a very, very good technical player. Scored a hat-trick at Anfield, terrorizes big teams. For Brighton, for Brighton, let's not forget. So, go get him. Go get him. And then when we signed him for £25 million, I was more than satisfied. More than satisfied, mate, And I think you're right. I don't think he's our best player, but I think in terms of technical ability, he probably is. Left foot, right foot. The last Arsenal player that I can remember that can use both left foot, right foot was Santi Cazorla, and he was technically levels. So, yeah, I do think, Trossard's up there. I think it's down to the manager to get the best out of him because at the moment, so far this season, I don't think Trossard's been very good in any of the games that he's played so far, apart from, maybe the Everton game where, he scored that winner. In fact, there's been a couple of games where he's come off the bench and he's scored. But in terms of when he actually starts for Arsenal, I don't think he's had great performances. So, yeah, and it's down to Mikel Arteta to get the best out of him at the end of the day. And there's definitely quality there. But yeah, in terms of the Arsenal-Chelsea game, I think 3-1 as well. I think we win the game 3-1. I don't think we can see the goal from open play, though. I think Chelsea will probably score from a set piece or something like that. And I just think a lot of it comes down to our manager, who he picks. If he picks our traditional front three with Rice and Partey in the midfield, then, yeah, we win this game comfortably, mate, to be fair. And I don't see any other result other than that. Chelsea fans can come with their chest and all their talk and that, but trust me, by 8 p.m. tomorrow evening, you'll all be hiding. You'll all be hiding again.
100%, mate. Yeah, but cheers for coming on, man. Cheers for coming on. I'm sure we'll do more together anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for the invite.
People, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. The links will be in the description for True Gunners TVs, all your stuff. Plug yourself now if you want to as well.
Yeah, just True Gunners TV, come over, subscribe, follow, whatever you want to do. Come and hate on me if you like. The negative, toxic Arsenal fan, as people like to call me, or Lee Gunner's son. That's what I get called a lot.
Nah.
Yeah. So yeah, come and enjoy some content over on my channel as well, guys.
Listen, make sure to go check him out. Unbiased Sports. Peace.